In this video, we will cover the do-while loop. So this is the second type of loops that we have. And it's called a do-while, and as you can notice here, there is the while part of it, which we covered before. So we had a while loop before, we are familiar with it, and we know how to use it. In the do-while loop, it basically reverses the operation of the do-while, of the while. So here, if you remember the while loop, we said it's called a pretest loop because what happens is that you check for a condition. All right, so here we prompt the user for an input. That's a very simple prompt statement with a print statement, and then we take the input using the scanner and store it in them. Then using this number, what we do is that we go and try to check the condition while number is not in this range, or as we said, while it's true that the number is wrong, we are going to keep prompting the user, printing to the user that the number is invalid, please re-enter the number. The user enters the number again, and then we go back and check the condition again using this while loop, and then we keep doing this as long as the input is wrong. The do while loop is reversing the logic. So what is happening here, or the order of the operation? What is happening here is that it's going to execute statements first, all right, and ask questions later. So it's going here to perform the statements and then goes there and check if the condition is satisfied. Now, in this means that for us, this do while loop is what we call a post test, all right. So if you notice here, that is a post test. So here in this case, what is happening is that we have a do statement, that's a keyword in Java. Then we have the curly braces with the statements being included here. And then we have the while loop, which is asking the condition, similar to the old while loop. The only key difference here is that in the syntax, if you go back here, you will notice that the while loop doesn't have any semicolon, nothing. All right. However, if you have the do while loop, to terminate the do statement, you will have to terminate it with a semicolon at the end of the while condition. So that's a common mistake. People usually forget the semicolon, and they treat it just as a simple while condition or while followed by condition, which is not the case with the do while. So let's have a look at the practical example of the do while. The do while loop could be used to prompt the user and validate the input. So basically here, if you remember, and I would like to remind you here, we prompt, notice here that we prompt, we check the condition, and then we reprompt. Now notice here that if you are going to prompt again anyway, and get the number and go back and check for the number here, you could simply execute this first, get the number, and then go back and check the condition, which what the do while exactly does here. So here, do this process, which is prompting the user for input, getting the number, as long as the number is not correct. So this means it's going to execute this at least once before you check the condition, which is exactly what we are doing in the while loop with the input validation. All right. So here, let's have a quick look at the code in BlueJ. So we could go here, BlueJ, and we have the code ready. So here, that's the old prompt using the while loop. I prompt for input, I store the input, then I check the condition, and then I prompt again, right? And we said that is something that we here enter 500, it's checking, it's invalid, go back and enter again, 50, now it's good. So here, we could replace this with this simpler code, which is going to ask here, double comment again. And what is happening here is that I say do, I initialize the number, and then I say do that, which is prompting the user, storing the input, while the number is less than 1 or greater than 100. So here, that is going to do exactly the same equation. Negative 5, 0, negative 50 here, 600 outside, let's enter 20. Now you are the range, within the range, and here you enter the value. So that's exactly what we are doing here. We are trying to keep this simpler by, since you're going to prompt, check, prompt, then you could just simply prompt at the beginning and then check later. And that's the concept of the two. Now there are differences. So for example here, you were able to, since you prompt here for the first time and prompt here when it's strong, you can see that you can actually print a message that says this is an invalid input, right? So you could print a message to guide the user of what is wrong and what you need to fix it. So that's something that you cannot do here simply because you cannot, for example, you add that here, right? Since you're going to do that first and then check later, you cannot print that message at the beginning saying the number is invalid, but I haven't entered anything, right? So that's a challenge here that you need to fix. So one way to fix this one is to actually use more code. So here you could say integer I is equal to 0, and here I could say print this from the if I is not equal to 0. And here every time you check I++. So if you go back again, so here I is not equal to 0, and that's wrong because I is equal to 0, so it's not going to print this way. So that's not true. It's not going to print. It's going to prompt store number increment I by 1. So now I is equal to, and then if number is not within the range, you will go back and do again. So in that case, I is not equal to 0. That's true, and now it prints the message of it's a wrong number. So here we go. -5. Now it's invalid, and now 50. And there we go. So that's a fix. You could do this. So that's something to fix that problem and make it exactly mimics the behavior of the while loop that we have here. So I think that's it for the do while loop. One thing that I'm going to say here is that if I ask you to do input validation, for me it seems to be more natural to use the do while loop. All right. So you could do it with the while loop. That's perfectly fine, and you will get the grade. But the thing is, that's going to be a decision that you will have to make consistently as you program your codes, which tool or which structure to use when. And one thing that comes to mind always whenever you want to validate input is that do while loop is the most suitable and seems to be the appropriate choice for that specific purpose.